to the Learner's English podcast. I'm Lisa, and I'm here to help you get better at English in a fun and effective way. Today, we're diving into an exciting topic that will transform your approach to learning English. How to learn English like a baby. Yes, you heard that right, like a baby. Sounds interesting, doesn't it?
Hi everyone, I'm Tommy, your co-host, and I'm super excited about today's topic. Have you ever thought about how babies learn to speak? They don't use grammar books, apps, or flashcards, yet they become fluent in their native language without even trying. Imagine learning English that easily.
Exactly. Babies are like little language learning machines. But don't worry, you don't have to crawl around the house babbling. We'll show you how to use the same principles babies use to learn English naturally and effectively. And trust me, it's going to be fun and very practical.
So stay tuned, because by the end of this episode, you'll have some powerful strategies to make your English learning easier and more natural. Let's dive right in.
All right, let's start by exploring what it really means to learn English like a baby. When babies learn a language, they don't study grammar rules or memorize vocabulary lists. Instead, they learn naturally by listening, imitating, and connecting words to their surroundings. It's all about exposure and repetition.
Exactly. Babies spend their first few years just absorbing language, listening to their parents, watching their expressions, and picking up sounds. They don't worry about making mistakes. They just try, fail, and try again.
That's something adults can learn from, focusing less on perfection and more on communication.
Right. It's a process of immersion. Babies are surrounded by language every day. And here's the key point. They don't translate. They hear words and associate them directly with actions, objects, and emotions.
For example, when a parent says, "Look, a ball." Zarinya, while holding a ball, the baby understands through context.
But here's the thing. Adults often overcomplicate learning English by thinking too much about grammar rules or worrying about mistakes.
If we can adopt the baby-like mindset, we can make learning English much more natural and enjoyable.
So, as we go through today's episode, we'll break this method into 3 simple steps: listening, imitating, and learning through context.
By the end, you'll know exactly how to apply these steps to your English learning journey.
Yes, it's all about making the process fun and stress-free. Let's jump into the first step, listening.
All right, let's talk about the first and most important step, listening. Think about how babies start learning their first language. They spend months just listening to conversations, songs, and the sounds around them before they even say their first word. They've already absorbed so much.
That's so true, Lisa. Babies don't worry about understanding every word. They just take it all in. For adults, the same principle applies. To learn English like a baby, you need to immerse yourself in the language.
Listen to English as much as you can, even if you don't understand everything at first.
Exactly. It's about exposure. Listen to podcasts, watch TV shows or movies in English. Surround yourself with the language. But here's a key tip. Focus on listening to content that's slightly above your current level. Something challenging, but not impossible to follow.
That's a great point. And don't just listen passively. Active listening is where the magic happens. For example, if you're listening to a podcast or a conversation, try to catch the keywords or phrases. Pause and repeat parts you didn't understand. This will help you train your ears to pick up on sounds and patterns in English.
Another tip is to start with topics you enjoy. If you love cooking, listen to English cooking videos. Love sports? Watch games with commentary in English. The more interested you are in the content, the more likely you'll stick with it.
Yes, and remember, it's okay to feel a bit lost at first. Babies don't understand everything right away either. But with time, their brains start to recognize patterns. And yours will too.
Consistency is key here. Even just 15 to 20 minutes of focused listening every day can make a big difference.
So whether it's listening to this podcast, watching your favorite shows, or even talking to yourself in English, make listening a priority. Trust me, it's the foundation for everything else.
This is where the fun begins. Now that you've spent time listening, the next step is imitation and practice.
Think about how babies move from listening to speaking. They start by copying the sounds and words they hear, even if they don't say them perfectly. That's how they gradually improve.
Exactly, Lisa. Babies aren't afraid to mimic their parents or repeat the same words over and over again. Adults can do the same by imitating native speakers.
This doesn't mean you have to sound exactly like them, but try to match their tone, rhythm, and pronunciation as closely as you can.
One great way to do this is through a technique called shadowing.
Here's how it works. You listen to a sentence or phrase in English, then immediately repeat it, trying to match the speaker's pronunciation and intonation. You can pause and rewind as many times as needed.
It's like being an echo. That's such a fun method.
And it's not just about copying words, it's about imitating the way native speakers connect their words, their natural flow, and even their emotions.
For instance, if someone says, "Wow, that's amazing," you can try to mimic not just the words, but also the excitement in their voice.
Exactly. You can use podcasts, movies, or even music for this. Sing along to your favorite English songs or repeat lines from a movie scene.
It doesn't have to be perfect, and in fact, making mistakes is part of the process.
Another great tip is to practice speaking out loud every day, even if you're alone. Talk to yourself about your day, describe what you're doing, or even narrate your thoughts in English.
It might feel silly at first, but it helps you build confidence and fluency.
That's so true. The more you practice, the more natural speaking English will feel. Remember, babies don't get it right the first time either. They just keep trying until they do. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every time you try, you're getting better.
Absolutely. Imitation and practice are like exercising a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger it gets.
Now that we've covered this step, let's move on to the final one. Learning through context.
All right, now let's talk about the third and final step, learning through context.
One of the most powerful ways babies learn language is by connecting words to actions, objects, or situations. For example, when a parent says, "Here's your bottle," while giving a baby their bottle, the baby learns what the word bottle means.
Exactly, Lisa. And adults can use this same principle when learning English.
Instead of just memorizing vocabulary words, try to associate them with real-life situations or visual images. For instance, if you're learning the word apple, think about an actual apple, how it looks, tastes, and feels.
That's a great example.
Another way to learn through context is by paying attention to how words are used in sentences. Let's say you hear the phrase, "I'm running late." Even if you don't know the exact meaning, the situation, like someone hurrying, gives you a clue. Over time, your brain naturally connects the phrase to its meaning.
Absolutely. And a fantastic way to practice this is by watching English videos or reading books with pictures. Visual cues make it easier to understand new words and phrases.
For example, if you're watching a cooking video, you'll hear words like chop, mix, and bake, while seeing someone actually doing those actions.
Another tip is to use interactive learning tools like flashcards with images or language apps that show words in context.
But the key is to focus on understanding how words fit into everyday situations instead of translating them word for word.
Right. And one more thing, don't just learn isolated words. Learn phrases and expressions. For example, instead of memorizing the word rain, learn a phrase like, "It's raining cats and dogs." This helps you understand not just the word, but how it's naturally used.
That's such an important point, Tommy. By learning in context, you're not just expanding your vocabulary, you're also training yourself to think in English. And when you think in English, speaking and understanding the language becomes much easier.
So to wrap up this step, remember to use real-life situations, visual cues, and full phrases to build your language skills. And most importantly, enjoy the process. Learning through context is not only effective, but also a lot of fun.
Now that we've covered all 3 steps, listening, imitating, and learning through context, let's recap everything and give you some actionable tips to get started today.
Before we wrap up, let's address an important topic: the challenges adults face when learning English, and more importantly, how to overcome them.
Learning a new language as an adult can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be.
That's true, Lisa. One of the biggest challenges adults face is the fear of making mistakes. Many learners feel embarrassed or worried about being judged if they don't speak perfectly.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. Mistakes are part of the process. Babies don't get it right the first time, and neither will you, and that's okay. The key is to view mistakes as learning opportunities.
The more you try, the faster you'll improve.
Another common challenge is a lack of time. Adults have busy schedules with work, family, and other responsibilities.
But the good news is you don't need hours every day to make progress. Even short, consistent practice, like 15 to 20 minutes a day, can make a big difference.
That's a great point, Tommy. And for those who feel they don't have access to the right resources, technology has made learning so much easier.
You can use free apps, online videos, and podcasts like this one to immerse yourself in English anytime, anywhere.
Another challenge is overthinking. Adults often analyze everything: grammar, sentence structure, pronunciation. While understanding rules is helpful, it can slow you down if you focus on them too much. Instead, try to learn naturally by listening and practicing, as we discussed earlier.
Yes, and one more challenge is staying motivated. Learning a language takes time, and it's easy to feel discouraged. To overcome this, set small, achievable goals, like learning 5 new phrases a week or practicing speaking for 10 minutes a day.
To overcome this, set small, achievable goals, like learning 5 new phrases a week or practicing speaking for 10 minutes a day. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small.
That's such great advice. And don't forget to make learning fun. Join language groups, watch English movies, or sing your favorite songs in English. When you enjoy the process, you're more likely to stick with it.
Exactly. So whether it's overcoming fear, finding time, or staying motivated, remember that every challenge has a solution. The key is to keep going and never give up.
Well said, Lisa. Now that we've addressed these challenges, let's recap today's key takeaways and give our listeners some final tips to start learning English like a baby.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. Let's quickly recap. To learn English like a baby, focus on 3 key steps: listening, imitation, and practice, and learning through context. Remember, mistakes are part of the process, and consistency is your best friend.
Exactly. And don't forget, the journey of learning a new language can be fun and exciting. The more you immerse yourself in English, the faster you'll improve.
So start today. Watch a video, listen to a podcast, or try shadowing a short conversation.
And here's our challenge for you. Pick one of the steps we discussed today and practice it for the next 7 days.
Whether it's listening to English for 15 minutes a day or practicing shadowing, commit to taking action. Small steps lead to big results.
We'd love to hear about your progress. Share your experience or any questions you have in the comments section below.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tips and podcasts like this one.
Yes, and if you found this podcast helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends who are also learning English. Together, we can create a supportive community of learners.
Thanks for joining us today. Keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, you can learn English like a baby and become fluent over time. See you next time. Bye.